Welcome back, citizens! Today we're diving deep into everything that happened in Star Citizen over the last week, including the latest letter from the chairman, the Alpha 4.5 release now live, and what the future looks like heading into 2026. We'll be talking about crafting, base building, engineering gameplay, upcoming ships, and of course, Squadron 42 and how it might perform when it launches in a year packed with massive releases like GTA 6. This is a big one, so let's get straight into it. Chris Roberts' latest letter from the chairman gave us a very clear picture of how Cloud Imperium Games views 2025 and where they are steering the project next. He described 2025 as the year of playability, and that's not just marketing talk. Player engagement hit record levels, average playtime increased significantly, and the overall focus has clearly shifted toward making the game feel more complete, more stable, and more rewarding to actually play rather than just testing disconnected features. Throughout the year, the team pushed out an unusually high number of live builds, PTU patches, and incremental updates. This faster cadence shows that the internal pipelines are finally maturing. Server meshing improvements, stability fixes, and gameplay-focused features have taken priority, and that momentum carries directly into the Alpha 4.5 release. Alpha 4.5 is one of the most important updates Star Citizen has ever received because it fundamentally changes how ships function. Engineering gameplay is now live, and for the first time, ships feel like complex machines instead of simple hit point containers. Power management, heat buildup, component damage, fires, and system failures are all now part of everyday gameplay. Crewed ships especially benefit from this. Players now have real roles inside ships, managing power routing, repairing damaged systems, and responding to cascading failures during combat or emergencies. Fires can break out, systems can overload, and ignoring these mechanics will absolutely get you killed. This is just the first iteration, but it lays the groundwork for everything that comes next. Alpha 4.5 also brought performance improvements, rendering upgrades, Vulkan progress, HDR support, and quality of life enhancements across the board. On top of that, experimental VR support quietly arrived, giving players a glimpse of what full-scale immersion in Star Citizen could eventually look like. It's rough, it's early, but it's a huge statement of intent. Now, one of the most important systems discussed for the future is crafting. Crafting in Star Citizen isn't meant to be a simple menu-based system where you click a button and wait for a timer. It's being designed as a deeply integrated gameplay loop tied into mining, refining, logistics, and the economy. At its core, crafting will allow players to take raw materials gathered through mining or salvage, refine them, and then use blueprints to fabricate items. These items could range from FPS gear and weapons to components, tools, and eventually larger scale objects. Material quality will matter, blueprint rarity will matter, and where and how you craft will matter. Crafting stations and fabricators will be physical locations in the universe, not abstract menus. You'll need access to the right facilities, the right materials, and the right knowledge. This opens the door to specialized industrial players who focus entirely on production rather than combat. One of the ships often mentioned in relation to crafting is the Drake Clipper. The Clipper is designed with a fabrication station on board, which strongly suggests that mobile or localized crafting will be possible in the future. While this functionality isn't live yet, the ship's design clearly points toward a future where crafting can happen beyond major cities and stations. Crafting is also a critical prerequisite for base building. You can't have player-built bases without the ability to produce parts, components, and structures. That's why crafting is being prioritized first. Current projections suggest that crafting systems will be technically completed sometime around early 2026, though that doesn't necessarily mean full gameplay deployment immediately. Expect early implementations, limited scopes, and iterative expansion. Base building itself is still further out. It depends heavily on server meshing stability, long-term persistence, and planetary tech upgrades. Dynamic server meshing is especially important here because player-built structures need to exist reliably in the universe without breaking performance or persistence. Until that tech is fully realized, base building will remain in development rather than in players' hands. Looking ahead to 2026, engineering gameplay is expected to evolve significantly. What we have now is just the foundation. More subcomponents will be added, systems will become more granular, and battery mechanics will play a much larger role. Ships won't just have generators and coolers, they'll have layered power systems that require planning and active management. Balancing will also improve. Right now, engineering is intentionally rough around the edges, but throughout 2026, expect tuning passes that make systems clearer, more readable, and more satisfying to interact with. This is the year where engineering stops being experimental and starts becoming refined. Inventory systems, insurance mechanics, item recovery, and persistence are also getting major attention. These are core systems that affect every single player, and Cloud Imperium Games has openly acknowledged that they need significant improvement before the game can truly feel cohesive. On the technical side, server meshing will continue to evolve from static to dynamic implementations. This transition is massive. Dynamic server meshing would allow thousands of players to occupy the same areas of space, opening the door for truly large-scale battles, economic hubs, and player-driven events on a scale that hasn't been possible before. Planetary Tech is also moving forward with the Genesis system, which aims to create more varied, realistic, and dynamic environments. This isn't just visual. Better planetary tech supports exploration, mining, weather systems, and eventually player-built structures. In terms of ships, while nothing specific has been officially announced for 2026, expectations lean toward utility and industrial vessels, additional variants, and balance passes across existing fleets. Rather than massive new concept ships, the focus appears to be on making the current lineup function better within the expanded gameplay systems. Now let's talk about Squadron 42. The single-player campaign is now fully playable from start to finish internally with a reported length of over 40 hours. At this point, development is focused on polish, optimization, bug fixing, and preparing for beta and final release. Squadron 42 is currently targeting a 2026 release window, which puts it in direct competition with one of the biggest entertainment releases of the decade, GTA 6. That's not an easy comparison, and there's no denying that GTA 6 will dominate mainstream attention. However, Squadron 42 isn't trying to be GTA. It offers a cinematic, story-driven space combat experience with no loading screens, high production values, and a focus on immersion and narrative. For fans of space sims and story-heavy games, it could still carve out a strong identity and perform very well within its niche. One of the most important impacts of Squadron 42's release is what comes after. Once the campaign ships, more developers can be reassigned back to Star Citizen itself. That could significantly accelerate development on long-awaited features like crafting expansion, base building, and additional star systems. So where does that leave Star Citizen as a whole? Alpha 4.5 marks a turning point. Engineering has changed how ships work, crafting is moving closer to reality, server meshing continues to mature, and 2026 is shaping up to be a year focused not on flashy promises, but on depth, refinement, and integration. Star Citizen isn't finished. It's not even close, but for the first time in a long time, the direction feels clear, the priorities make sense, and the systems are finally starting to connect into something greater than the sum of their parts. Whether you're a longtime backer or someone watching from the sidelines, the next year is going to define what Star Citizen ultimately becomes, and that alone makes it worth paying attention to. I'll see you in the verse.